So, are you ready for some great ghost stories? Of course you are. Don't even start with me, Scully. Sheesh. Well, hello, my spooky friends. I have got a treat for you today. Remember in my last video, I had a story by Dan, and it was so fantastic. If you haven't seen it, go back to my last video and watch the first story. Anyway, Dan sent me a fantastic story. Just hush, Scully. How rude. Okay, he starts by saying, "Hi, it's Dan again. Dan, I am so glad you wrote. Here is some additional information about me. Now, let me tell you on the forefront of this, it's lengthy, but all of it is very important, okay? So just stay with me. I was born during a full moon on October 31st, a Halloween baby. I was also adopted at birth by the woman I always call mom and still do, nearly 20 years since her passing. I have never seriously looked into finding my biological family during all of my 38 years. It just sort of happened, and here's how it happened. In 2001, life was good. I was in my second year of a private law school. I started doing very, very well, so much that I was admitted into a prestigious postdoctoral tax program to earn my LLM in tax. My life consisted of an endless loop of stress, studying, and schedules. One day I was driving home alone from running mundane errands when suddenly I became aware of a presence in my car. I knew exactly where it was, and it was directly behind me. It was unambiguous, but it wasn't threatening, and it wasn't visible. But it was unmistakable and oddly charismatic. It started slowly pushing my shoulders from behind. And when I say pushing, I don't mean like another person. This force almost felt as though it was both pushing me and sinking into me. Okay, Dan, this is where I freak out because y'all know how I feel about ghosts touching you. And you just stay back there, Scully. It lasted, 10 to 15 seconds. It wasn't painful, it wasn't scary. It was rattling. And then it was gone. Like, what in the heck is this? What is going on? It freaked me out so bad that I immediately pulled the car over to collect myself. I've always been a clear headed, focused, detached observer. I really didn't believe in ghosts, so that explanation never crossed my mind. My immediate and governing thought was that I had some bizarre medical issue. I had pushed myself way too hard for years, nearly a decade. And I started to wonder, is this how breakdowns start? Yeah, you're going to have to wonder, right? You have this experience. I think I would be questioning myself as well, Dan. As soon as I got home, I recorded the time and duration of that event on my kitchen calendar. I was concerned that this might develop into a pattern and that I very well might need to see a doctor about it. And if it came to that, I wanted exact dates and times. Then I immediately plunged into my never ending to do list. But I had a difficult time concentrating. My mind kept drifting to what happened in my car. Somebody had been in my car. I struggled to figure out what exactly it was and why it did what it did. And God forbid, was this going to happen to me again? Then, as the days passed, my thoughts matured. I noticed I started obsessing about my biological mother. It made no sense. I never really gave her much thought. And now, thoughts of her progressively dominated large blocks of time. Time I absolutely did not have as finals stared me down. Now, literally days away. Friends from school were becoming concerned. Apparently, I kept repeating something to the effect that I really need to find my biological parents, and soon. I don't want to stand at their grave 6 weeks too late. Fall semester of 2001 had been a heck of a time. September 11th traumatized us all. Wow. Yeah. Uh, Yet finals were bearing down. I couldn't study. I found myself systematically researching an infant internet for answers on how to find your biological parents. After plowing through innumerable vague, advicey dead ends, I found a website that had an extensive questionnaire. I filled it out, and I remember staring at the return key on my keyboard thinking, you realize once you've hit this button, your life could radically change. Change in ways you cannot even conceive. After a long 5, 6, 7 second pause, I hit enter. And within seconds, I was focused and able to do quality systematic finals preps. December 24th, 2001, Christmas Eve, was my first day off from school. Finals ended the day before. And as I lay in bed around 9 p.m., the house phone rang in the kitchen. Yeah, I'm not answering that. 2 hours later, I heard a message that changed my life. Merry Christmas. That questionnaire I filled out got a solid match on date, place, time, hospital, and doctor. I returned the call and I got my biological sister's phone number, then my biological mother's. I didn't get any quality sleep that night and went to my adopted parents' house a few hours later on Christmas morning. I knew I was off on a 13-hour drive to meet my biological family. I didn't tell my adopted parents what was happening. I met my biological father December 26th. When we met, I asked him if he knew what he was doing on X date at X time. He consulted his kitchen calendar. It was the exact moment when I felt an entity in my car back in Colorado. My biological father was at the doctor's office in Idaho. He was told that he was in the final stages of dying. He had about 6 weeks to live, and that if he wanted to do anything before he died, he better do it. My biological father's eyes welled up with tears. He told me that he had never told the doctor nor his new wife that he wanted to meet his son before he died. And here you are. The story gets stranger. My biological father's mother was still alive. All who knew her call her crazy. Like, no, seriously, Dan, your grandmother is crazy. You need to know that going in. I called her anyway. I can't quote all that she said from memory, but here is a fairly accurate synopsis of what she said. Well, you know your dad was shot up by an AK-47 in Vietnam. His entire unit was killed. He laid in a wet rice field for quite some time before he was evacuated. Infections set in. He was evacuated out to Japan, then Korea, then Seattle, then home. He has been paralyzed from the chest down since he was 17. The last time I saw your dad before he was shot, I knew he wasn't coming home the same way. So I did a photo shoot for you, Dan. Yes, I knew my son was a daddy long before he did, and I knew that you would find us someday, and that when you did come back to us, I wanted you to see him in his prime, and I knew you wanted to remember him as we did, as he was, not as he is now, wheelchair bound. So I made him jump and run and play with the dog while I took photos. I made a scrapbook for you. When I flipped through that scrapbook, I was not prepared for what I saw. It was me. It wasn't a close match, no. It was definitely me in those pictures. If my dad and I were born on the same day, we could have been identical twins. And not only did she have the pictures she took of him that last day, she included pictures he sent her from Vietnam. There I was, crouched in front of a military vehicle with a group of other men, all in uniform. There I was with a parachute on inside an aircraft waiting to jump. It was surreal. My grandmother continued, I know what happened in your car that day. I gasped. I had not yet met my father at that point, nor had I asked him about the timing of that incident yet. In fact, I had told no one about what happened to me in my car, out of the legitimate concern that people would think I was crazy. My grandmother went on, you know the gift skips a generation. Your dad didn't get it. Your aunts and uncles didn't get it either. But the kids did, and you did too. It will never hurt you. It's a guide. It's a helper. And I know everyone calls me crazy. People will probably call you crazy too. But then again, how can they not call you crazy? My grandmother related one last story. I knew the instant your dad got shot. I was asleep and I woke up with a jolt. And I knew the military would be coming to my door soon. So I got out of bed in the middle of the night, got dressed, and made coffee. She laughed. I got my timing wrong. Or the military took longer than I expected. But sure enough, two men came to my door later that afternoon, downcast, to tell me your dad was killed in action. No, I said, you need to go back and check your records. He is not dead. She laughed again. They were very concerned that I was in denial, and I finally had to lie to them and acknowledge his death just so they'd leave me alone. Oh, I wanted to ask. I was asleep when your dad died. He appeared at the foot of my bed. Did you see him too? No, I didn't see him. But you know what? He died 6 weeks after I met him. I didn't stand at his grave 6 weeks after he died. I wasn't too late. Dan says you can share this story if you like. You can edit or change it as needed. Well, let me tell y'all something. I never do change a story. I may just change a word or two here and there if it doesn't grammatically, make sense or there's a typo or something like that. But I never ever change your stories because they are yours and unique. And wow, just wow, Dan, that is incredible. I hope you all enjoyed that story as much as I did. Please, please keep sending your emails, your comments in. I would love to have more material for you. Maybe I can stack it up and get more stories out. Okay? Um, and yes, I got the message about the glicks. I can't say it. The glitch in the Matrix story. I will probably tell that one on my next video. So, I don't know. You ever have those days? Okay, I'll be doing that soon. Y'all enjoy the holiday season. And yes, oh, Scully says he really did enjoy that, Dan. Well, I'm glad you were nice about it now. All right, hope you have a great week. Stay safe out there. Whatever you do, stay spooky. Bye bye.